and support to the Lebanese actors. Voices de Beirut started as an open discussion to see how we can elevate our voices and let the international community really bridge the gaps between us and understand that there is no more clarity and to bring in clarity and no more confusion. So I will let in the beginning Suzanne to introduce you to Heartbeat, and then we're going to carry on the conversation talking about the statement and how we're doing all this. So Suzanne.
Hello everyone, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here in this panel with us.
Thank you.
Because I think the voices of the Lebanese really need to get out there in the world and what needs to happen. Heartbeat is a platform, an online platform that I created because I saw a lot of people that want to change. I spoke a lot of Lebanese people 4 years ago already with great ideas, and those great ideas are so necessary right now. And they asked me for my Facebook, but not for something that could really help them. So that's why I created another platform, and that's why we have this discussion right now, because we're really happy to give you a voice and to really show what is necessary for beautiful Beirut.
Thank you.
This special, heavy day in which we commemorate a tragic past.
So if you want me, Lisa, Johnny, and Douaa, just take a first small intro about you, and then we're going to go on the statement of the first panel.
Okay. Melissa Fathalla, I'm a co-founder and vice president of Baytna Baytak. Baytna Baytak started in 2019 as an initiative just to help medical frontliners, and eventually progressed into an NGO after the Beirut blast, filling in the gaps where the government failed.
Beautiful.
Okay, my name is Johnny Yaacoub. I'm a volunteer coordinator at Nation Station. Nation Station was founded the second day after the explosion. It's a youth initiative mostly focusing on the post-blast relief help, and we evolved during the months into more a community hub approach.
Hey everyone, I'm Sebahy. I'm the co-founder of Entrepeneurs, which was co-founded way before the Beirut blast, but now I think we have all a more important role in changing how we see our city and how we see our country in general. I also have a background in journalism and media and entrepreneurship.
Thank you, guys. So I'm going to tell you a bit of the difference of this panel. This panel is trying to be interactive with the international community as much as we can. So we kind of created a digital experience where we're putting a statement where by the end of this panel, the public will have to take their choices based on the opinions that you're sharing, guys. So the statement of our panel is, should the government and the syndicates take back the role of the civil initiatives and the NGOs on the ground for the next year? So guys, I want you to start a discussion between you guys, like if you can state your opinion, and then during the discussion we're going to tackle a point on the point of this opinion. So what do you think, Melissa? Can you tell
I don't
us a
think
bit
it's
more?
a matter of should. If they could, why didn't they? That's the first question. What country in the world has such a traumatizing catastrophe happen and then does absolutely nothing about it? We didn't even get a statement from a supposed president. I don't even remember his statement, to be honest, but if the government could have taken over, which financially, monetarily, with the money they've embezzled and stolen, they absolutely could have taken over. They did not want to. Would I expect, accept, or respect this government to take it over? Absolutely not. If it was another government with a clean slate of independent people who are working for the benefit and the well-being of their own citizens in their own countries, absolutely. But every single one of the people in the government at this moment is only working for the well-being of themselves. So no, I wouldn't trust them with 500 liras.
So you believe that the government was different today? It was represented more by the civil society. Should the government in this case be taking over the role of the civil society, or should the civil society be more empowered to start the transition between the old public governance that we had and this institutional public governance to more giving power to the private institution and the private sector to take role and start making more change where we felt that decentralization of the civil society, the creativity of the civil society, and the lack of bureaucracy is something more important than whether the government and its people right now, or if the government changed, do you think that the government should have been able to do it?
Look, I believe the civil society will always have a role, even if we had a perfect government. There's been tragedies in bigger countries in the world. Take the US, for example, during 9/11. The civil society always has a certain role it fills in. There's always a different feeling when it's a citizen to a citizen helping each other. There's a certain form of brotherhood that is formed and a certain form of empathy and citizenship that is formed. But for the government should exist. It's supposed to exist. It should perhaps be the lead on doing this. Like, I mean, we were all there the day after the explosion. We were all cleaning the streets. We were perhaps doing things that at that point in time were extremely dangerous. And we didn't have anyone to tell us, yes, no, do this, don't do that, move away from this building, don't move away from this building. That's just the simplest example. I'm sure, not just as Lebanese, but in general around the world, citizens always have that push, that need to come and help. But we should have some form of guidance. I think the quickest way to give an example of this is learning how to cook. You're going to burn the same food over and over again, which is, I think, how we all learned. We made mistakes along the way. We learned from our mistakes. But maybe it would have been quicker if we didn't need to make those mistakes and had the proper guidance, and didn't have a government that was purposely creating obstacle courses or ways to not let us work, like closing down roads, like digging holes in front of camps where we're working. But yes, if we had a legitimate government that was respectful, that was working with a conscience, I think the government and civil society could be working hand in hand.
What do you think, Jenna?
Well, for a nation, speaking from nation station side, I hope that the government would have acted the day after the explosion. Instead, what did they do? When it comes to nation station, they tried to close us down. They put on their, I'm not going to say which official institution, but they put their cars, their trucks, all around the not even, also more than that. Then they tried to ask us about legal papers, or are we legit to do what we're doing? Are we legit to be in a abandoned gas station? Do we have papers? We were like, a massacre happened, and we're helping people, and you're asking us about papers? What are you doing? You're just going around just asking people if they can do something, instead of just attacking through people who are trying to help. So that threw me off, and it killed any hope that we had for the government to rethink the way that they want to do things. An explosion should have removed them from their seats, should have thrown them away. Instead, they were judging how we do things, and even they didn't even facilitate during lockdown the work of the NGOs.
They gave us tickets.
They gave us tickets. They didn't facilitate. Okay, you might have resources or you don't, and you're not acting on them. At least facilitate the work of the NGOs, between each other. We had to go into lockdowns more than 3 times, and we had to close down. We have people to feed. We have people who need to fix their houses. We have people who need medication, and they didn't facilitate.
Who need oxygen concentrators. They gave us tickets when we were giving out oxygen concentrators.
It's ridiculous.
Deb, in this process, I will start with you, sir. Where was the municipality of Beirut?
Yeah, now let's take a step back before talking about municipalities.
In front of my base camp.
If we take a step back before talking about municipalities, and we look about not just the government but the system that keeps on taking money and importing products into Lebanon without exporting, so there is an economic crisis that goes back years and years before the explosion. The explosion was just the cherry on the top, and it came and it made everything very transparent in front of everyone that this system and the government that's representing it has nothing to do with crisis management.
What about the syndicates, guys?
With me.
Because the syndicates is part of the government, no?
Unfortunately, they are like smaller parts of what we have in the government and in the system. But let's talk about the solutions now. We've talked a little bit about the obstacles that we've been facing with the government, but is there any solution? Now, as you said, they've stolen a lot of money. They could have built Beirut instead of devastating our lives in it. But the first step, in order to take a step forward, the first thing would be is to manage our economics in a real way, in a solid way. And that's on an economic perspective, because we have also the political perspective, and I think if we want to dive deep into it, we'll take hours and hours talking about how things are diversified and classified. But yeah, definitely the first step, if we want the government to take over is to manage the money they have in their hands in a correct way and to work hand in hand in partnership with the private sector and the public sector and NGOs and civil organizations.
But what I'm saying, like, we really can't just blame the government because we didn't see the municipality working, we didn't see the syndicates working.
The municipality worked. They came and dug a giant tunnel in front of where we were trying to help people.
But isn't the municipality of Beirut responsible to rebuild Beirut before the government, before anyone else? It's their city.
Everyone is responsible.
Isn't the president responsible to give a word and declare a state of emergency and explain to his uniformed men that as opposed to coming down to the streets the day after an explosion and telling me where I can and cannot put a tent and how I should and should not clean and tries to attack us, as opposed to saying stand together as citizens, as Lebanese, as a community? Where were they when that needed to happen? And you're talking about money management. We have money. Lebanon has an excellent economy, if you really want to think about it. I personally worked weddings for the past 12 years in Lebanon. Weddings in this country are 3 times the price of weddings on the Amalfi Coast in Cannes, in New York City. I worked in New York, I worked here. The amount of income that, or income flow that used to show up in this country every single summer, let's just say by weddings alone, there are at least 20 different suppliers or vendors for each wedding. So this money was already coming in. People were already getting taxed. MEA was working nonstop along with all the different airlines in the Middle East and the region, bringing in full planes where you can't even find seats on. $100,000 wedding is the cheapest wedding in this country. Where did that money go? When these people were coming into the airport, where did that money go? When the people were paying taxes, paying for visas, paying for overweight, paying for jumruk, where did the money go?
Yeah,
Running
but
their
that's
pockets.
part of the problem, by the way. That's part of the problem is that we don't have production. Our economy is based on getting from abroad. And once everything slowed down because of COVID, because of different policies we have, because of politics, basically, people are not coming a lot here because of many, many factors, the country shut down, almost. We don't have production. We can't make our own money. We're always relying on getting money from outside, whether from people who are the
But it's not about production. It's also about how much money was being spent in the country.
Actually, it's both. It's a bit of both. If we produced our own goods and items and what we need, it would help us export. It would help us be...
I guess after the blast, we cannot export anything right now with the port.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. We don't have a
We're
port to
talking
export.
very
We have
utopic.
ports, actually. We have other ports in
There's
Lebanon.
one in
Why aren't we
Tripoli.
using them? Yeah, for example, why is it forbidden to be used? Why can't we use it
Because they
after-
can't make money off of it.
They can't.
Actually-
They can't steal. They
Exactly.
can't steal, but they don't want to. They don't want to. Yeah.
So
they
what do you
can't.
think? Do you think for the next year, is it possible to have hopes and whatever newly formed government, is it possible to have hopes and government work and public institution? Let's start by the syndicates. For example, we know that the civil society had a win in the syndicates of the engineering. Do you think the syndicate of engineering will have an effect right now on the next year of rebuilding Beirut?
I
That's
think,
the hope.
Annie, we were so happy about the syndicate and how it was won, and we're now gonna observe and see how it's gonna continue moving
Do you
forward.
have talks? Are you starting to discuss it? Are you starting to build
Yeah,
a
of
plan
course.
together?
Of course,
We've been
it's
sitting
a-
with them nonstop.
It's
Yeah.
a process. So, no, we're.
So can you tell us a bit about more the process of the people? And we're trying to bring clarity for the audience that doesn't understand how deep you're into the works of with the government, with the syndicates, with yourself. So we really need to give them clarity for them to be able to make a decision whether should we trust again public institution or should we transfer governance from this public institution to the civil society and the civic sector that is stepping up and showing more game.
I think they already started to, the money that was sent to Lebanon was not sent to any
The
official
government,
funds or any official links or bank account.
Yeah.
Everybody was like saying, please donate this money, not to the official institutions, directly to the society organizations. And that helped us do the things that we can do with our own power, our own empowerment to do so, rather than to have to actually ask the government to do their work or to give us the money in order to do it.
But
So
they did take their share.
they
If you
did-
have a bank account, they did take their share.
They did take their share, but Hala, for example, when it comes to Nation Station, we got little bit amount of money, and we were able to do a lot of things.
So what
A
we were
lot.
doing? To what extent we were helping Beirut?
We were trying to help as much as we can. We were a youth initiative. With the money that we got was first from friends and families, and then people started hear about us and hear about what we're doing. So they started sending us their own donations, whether it's in cash, whether it's in food, whether it's medication, and we were distributing them based on the data that we had from every beneficiary, every household, and their vulnerability score. So we were able to prioritize who needs help first, second, last, and that way we were able to be very transparent to any organization, any partner, any donor who would like to see what are we doing in, for example, the Jaitawi area, which we are covering. So we did quite a lot, and the donations are decreasing with time. Donations are decreasing a lot, and we are shifting into a more sustainable approach as a civil society organization in order to have some sort of a revenue or profit for us to even buy the vegetables, the things that we need to cook for the people in Jaitawi, to buy the medication, reconstruction, greening. So we
have a
had
big
to,
plan. Do we really have a plan where we're sitting on it and we're saying, today we did this, tomorrow we'll be doing this, and are we collaborating between all of us, or is it still difficult to collaborate?
No, we've been collaborating
we
a
are
lot.
collaborating
Yeah, we're all
a lot.
collaborating.
We're collaborating with
We have the whole civil society, I want to say initiatives, NGOs and everything, we have become a community.
Yep.
And there's been many collaborations between big and small ones, and local and international. Like there is
Give us more examples to just give a feel.
We've collaborated many times as Nation Station and Baytna, Baytak and Basecamp. Off the top of my head right now, We Deserve Better is also an NGO founded by Lebanese. Half of the, I want to say, founders are not even in the country, but they've collaborated with Baytna, Baytak, Basecamp, Expatria, and now we have a whole, as you said, sustainability program where we are working on food boxes. These food boxes are bought from local producers, from, you know, Tont Ali, who's making Mazahir Bilbet, or Tont Bshara, who's making kishik, and we're buying from them, putting it in these boxes. For each box that's bought, another box is given to a poor family.
Yeah.
This is a full circle. But this is like the collaborations between, we've all worked with Lebanon Needs, we've all worked with Lebanese Food Bank.
We provided data of the people who need more help.
Short-term relief.
If we don't,
short-term relief.
Yeah,
Are we
exactly.
stepping from
No, we are working on long-term.
Mid-term and long-term?
Yeah.
And what, sorry, continue.
Yeah, excuse me. No, you were
No, go
talking
ahead.
something about long term because I want to build on that.
No, we're completely going long-term. We are, with the food boxes we're doing right now, which is not just regular food boxes, like I said, it's a 360-degree pyramid sales scheme. Besides that, we're working on community centers, we're working on vocational schools, we're working on one of our biggest, we want to talk long-term, the biggest problem we have in the country right now is brain drain. How many people, I know from my own friends, I know in one weekend I had 4 nurses get up and leave the country. We no longer have a medical staff. We are working on opening schools or vocational centers where we're going to be teaching people a trade, whether it be cooking, whether it be painting, whether it be carpentry.
Yeah, so entrepreneurship based.
Exactly, for free, and then we job place them as well. So these people can find work. So you're basically holding on to keeping the people here. And I speak on behalf of myself and you and all the other NGOs that actually created jobs.
Yeah.
We created 450 jobs for people to stay in the country. So there's your long term. These people don't need to leave anymore. And we focused, we put most of our weight into fresh graduates, or even we have one of our engineers or architects who graduated last week. And they were going to look in France, Qatar, Dubai, whatever, and leave the country type. If we keep leaving the country, and I don't mean physically build, but who is going to build this country?
Yeah, that's
Who's going to make a
great.
better country?
It's great that you have a long-term plan. It's great that you're connecting with each other, but I see it as that's not very, very sustainable and not enough. We need a government to be on board, getting investments, implementing big operations, because even if we helped employ like 500, 1,000 people, a country is based on billions and millions of people. So yes, it is a short-term solution. It is one of the solutions, but like we say, if someone is sinking, we can throw a piece of wood for them. This would be the help that we can offer as NGOs and so on. The boat would be the government. So if we want to really change, the government should be, the system itself, not just the government, should be on board doing real change, managing the money, managing people, and helping with the economic state. Because we can get donations from abroad, but we cannot get big investments.
So can
we
we-
cannot be a government within a government. You see what I'm talking about?
نحن
And here-
الدولة
نحن
حياتي.
الدولة،
نحن الدولة.
yeah, unfortunately
you-
for people abroad, it's not the same. Even if they pay a bit of money, but it's not like
I feel
dealing with
Douaa,
the
what you're
government.
trying to say is that maybe what we've been doing as a role have been always taking care of relief. It's time to go back from relief and look at the big picture and have a vision of our investments in Beirut. How do you want Beirut
Yeah.
in
We
5
already
years?
did that like 5 months after the explosion. You're talking about the government should do this, should do that,
They are not
but
doing
they
that.
are
You're
not doing
filling
that
the
for
gap.
years.
Yeah,
So,
you're
Would
filling
you
the
be part
we
of
are
the
acting
government?
upon with our limited resources, with the youth that we're here.
Yeah, we
We're
should
employing
make them.
people. You know, we are doing
That's what we're
sustainable
doing
projects.
today.
We are doing that
Once
today.
we delete them.
We, for example, we have at Nation Station, we now have our own clinic with volunteer doctors from St. George's Hospital. We have a social worker who's only 24 years old and she's handling by herself the psychosocial support program. If she's out of Nation Station or somewhere, she would be very happy if she got an internship somewhere in an organization or an institution or a government institution. But we empowered our volunteers. So every volunteer who comes to Nation Station or any other organizations such as Basecamp, Baytna, Baytak, we empowered them. We're letting them to take the lead. When we started distributing food on the front line, everyone who knows how to do things, we let them do them. We didn't have a
That's
structure
very nice.
or
That's
the.
very nice and important, but it needs to be within. I know that I'm talking. It should and it need, and we should push them to do their job. But it's not enough to run a whole country. Do you see what I mean? It's great, and we need it, and it's filling the gap. But it's just alone can't
But
lift up.
I really, I really
initiatives,
believe
more,
Douaa is not able for us to say their work is not enough, because honestly, if it wasn't for their work, there were people not
Yeah, I'm not
sleeping-
saying it's
let's
not enough
just-
for them.
No, no, it's
for
not
the
a-
country. I'm saying like. Can we three, not the three of us, like as a civil society organization, get the dollar back to lower rates?
That's not
Can
our
we?
job.
It's not, and we cannot do it. So it's not enough. That's the point. We cannot handle تقل economy على كتافنا alone.
But you're thinking
but-
numbers, Douaa. We're thinking civilians. We're thinking humanitarian. I can't buy someone with numbers. I literally, and I don't mean buy. I mean I can't convince someone or give him a better life when he already doesn't have money with numbers. I can convince this person. I'm going to go a step further with you.
Yeah.
We've been living in a warlord-run country for over a million years. I mean, my parents tell me I come from a mixed marriage, how bad it was for them back then.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is correct. I'm not saying it's wrong. But what I'm also telling you is we have zombies that refuse to die in this government.
Yeah.
And for us to do anything, we need to get rid of them first.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, until we get rid of them, how are you going to get your quote-unquote fan base? You're saying these are great initiatives and whatnot. Let me take you a step further as to why these initiatives are happening. There is a hidden agenda. I'm not lying. All NGOs will tell you this. Most of them who know what they're doing will tell you this, any initiative. The hidden agenda is you've been following this politician and this group and this whatever for the past 20 years, and they bought your vote for $100, which
what
is now
happened?
the equivalent of $1 at one point it's going to be, to get your vote, and promised you a certain way of living, and that's why you followed him. So if I sat here and I fed that into you and I told you, okay, I'm going to give you $100, and if you vote for me, I'm going to give you a house, I'm going to give you electricity, and I'm going to give you
Yes,
food,
you're going
and
to
every
buy
time you need to
people.
get in the hospital, I'm going to be there for you, and you have wasta to do anything in your
And
life.
exploded in their faces.
And then explode in their faces.
So now they're
And not
buying-
help them when their houses got broken down or anything. I cannot even begin to explain. I mean, you and I have been on the ground enough. I've personally been in thousands of houses. And there were people who followed certain political parties. And there were people that were very adamant about following these political parties as if it was a religion.
Yeah.
I have watched people rip their cards in front of me.
Yeah.
So this explosion, they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
It created awareness.
Yeah,
What built
that's
it a
right.
step further,
ripple
they
effects.
had that little window to redeem themselves. That teeny tiny window to get up and say, we messed up. We did something wrong. It was our fault. We'll rebuild the
They
country.
didn't use it.
We'll give you all the money. And they did not do
They
it. So
didn't
now
use it.
what's happening? These people who used to follow this government, who used to have faith in these politicians, are now saying, oh, wait a minute. To hell with $100 to vote with him, to hell with following him for a little bit of wasta. These are people who are working with a conscience, who provided me with housing, with food, with medical supplies, with appliances that I lost,
Yeah.
with dignity. First and foremost, with dignity and respect. We're teaching
So you're
people
gonna
again.
go
you
for the
cannot-
elections, run the elections?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. Now we're talking something rigid, solid on the ground. Now it's not just charity for
That
charity.
was always the goal.
Yeah.
This is literally, we want this whole government,
Yeah.
just like a tree, you remove it from its roots
Rip
and
it
you
out.
put it in the shredder
Yeah.
so it doesn't come back ever again. Anyone who
And
has
then you can
any
run
form of
government,
affiliation with this previous government
projects.
will not be in a new one.
With our
Yeah.
community building projects that we're doing, we're changing mentalities.
Exactly.
When you're recruiting volunteers to see the work that we're doing, to see what they can do, they can actually and realize the impact that they're doing on the ground. They would know, okay, I was sitting in the house, leaving it all to the government and didn't do anything, and I did as a person. I was able to create that impact. It will create a ripple effect, a word of mouth to any activist, any young person who has the ability, who has the energy still to actually contribute to their community and do the right community building that we need in each area that we're covering.
Interesting. No, that's very good. It's very important to change the mentality, which was almost there, because in the first election, in the last election, sorry, if you remember, 50% of the people didn't vote for anyone. So now you're giving them an alternative, and most of those who didn't vote said, "I didn't find the right alternative."
And
Before
you're
going
changing the
to
mentality
elections,
of youth, not
I guess
only
we
their
just-
parents. Yani,
We just jumped to another panel right now, so let's go back.
parents or old generation, like it's a lot to change their mentalities.
is,
The
yeah.
the
I
younger
have
generation
from
are
my-
the ones who are gonna vote. Actually,
Yeah.
they are gonna want to stay
they
in the
stayed.
country.
Guys, before voting, yep.
Just one last
Finish
thing.
this.
With Naqaba Tantafid.
Yeah.
My family is extremely religious. I'm obviously not. And they were following the same group of people for many, many years. I was shocked when I was standing in that tent and 3 of my cousins who are engineers showed up to say hi and take the paper and vote with us. And I just stood there. I'm like, wait, you're working with us now? You've been bashing me for the past year and a half about the revolution and everything, and you're not going to get anywhere, and now you're actually here voting. Those 3 people are like 3 million to me.
Yeah.
Because I knew how
Goosebumps.
hard it was to
Yeah.
change their mind.
Yeah.
I knew how hard it was to get them to get off that track that they've been following for so many years, and it was a very wrong track.
Yeah.
And now they're like, okay, we saw what you guys did. The more people we get like that, the more we can progress. And whatever government we do put, not that I'm getting back into elections, but I think you and I can say this in unison, we're still going to run the show. This
Yeah.
time, we're putting them. We're giving you the authority. We're telling you what you can do.
In the government.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the point. That's
Alright.
what elections are for. I'm sorry, but it's
No,
very
No,
interconnected.
so on the contrary, like it's really
Yeah.
nice that you're showing the strong point of advocating the presence of public institution. Okay, we took care of shelter, we took care of feeding. One of the things that I don't know we didn't see taking care of our bigger project. For example, public transportation in Beirut for the people.
And so.
Big port. Are we able to
Fix
build
the
a port again?
infrastructure first.
This is the last kind of topic of
Yeah,
this panel.
this is stuff, for
Is the
example,
civil society
they need
will
the
be able to
government.
build the port again
Can I answer
for the
building a
Lebanese
port
people?
from our experience?
Yes.
1,350 houses. That's how much we fixed so far, besides others. I'm not trying to show off here. I'm saying we have talent in
Yeah.
Lebanon.
Yeah.
We have amazing architects, engineers, workers. They have done beautiful work. There is absolutely no reason on earth why anyone else, any foreign country, needs to come in here and build this port. The problem we have in Lebanon, so let's take a microcosm of it, is still, unfortunately, this company, that company, this company,
Yeah,
that company.
yes, yes.
No, just like this NGO, that NGO, but I think we've passed that to some extent, and we all collaborate enough and we see the bigger picture. What we need is a mentality of seeing the bigger picture. What we need is some young architect I would love, and I would prefer an architect that would actually, haram and affected by the blast, let's say, and injured in the blast. This young architect come,
Survivors,
or engineer, exactly, survivors.
Survivor, yeah.
Draw the floor plan, draw the blueprint, come up with the idea. Of course we can do it. We don't have a lack of anything to do it. We don't.
But
So
the
what's
government
stopping
will
us right
shut
now?
us down
They-
because we were doing
But
their
is it
job.
just the government? Because we didn't see the private sector businesses helping the NGOs and the initiatives. So it was thrown on, you see the extreme of NGOs and civil society initiative, the government, whereas the private sector, which is our backbone in the country, our businesses, where are they?
Trying to get their dollars out of the bank, trying to live their daily life, let's be honest. Where's everybody?
Yeah,
You can't buy anything anymore. You
That's
go
our
to, I
capital.
went to the bank yesterday, the guy just looked at me, I'm not letting you in. Why? It's 3 hours, wait, خلاص, come back another day. طب خي, do you know what I need to do right now? what is everyone trying to do? Everyone is trying to keep their head above water. Everyone's trying not to suffocate.
Yeah.
We're here, we're talking, we're smiling, we're laughing. Every single one of us in here is dying inside.
Yeah, we are.
And if we have a little bit more strength and perhaps we're kind of sedating, I want to say, the pain that we're in by doing good for other people.
Yeah.
But you can't expect everyone to do that.
A lot of people were telling us at the station, why are we still here? Why are we doing this? And we saw the impact that we're doing because we connected with the people on a personal level. We entered their houses, we assessed them, we sat down with them, we cried with them because our pain is their pain. And that's how we created a bond between the people in the neighborhood and us as nation station, speaking for ourselves. And that's how we were able to infiltrate their mentality and their way of thinking. Because when we're offering them medication, when we're offering them food, any services that we were able to get, we were able to establish a bond with them that we can create a project with them, awareness sessions. We have people who are diabetic, who doesn't know why they're diabetic. We go to their houses and they have a can of Pepsi and a British cake, because she knows that the sugar is actually the sugar that you put in the coffee. So you have a lot of people who are uneducated about their health, and we are here for them to tell them that this is how you can balance your health. This is the way how you do things. And with that, we will gain more their trust. They will be in line with what we're doing, and that's how we build a community back again with the right mentality to change.
Yeah, I have a curious question here. As you know, I'm not part of the NGOs world. I'm more on the business side of it. So what did the government do in response to what you're doing? Because what you're doing threatens their presence.
Tried everything to stop us.
4 months after the explosion, we see them going to houses, giving just millions like they are nothing. After people
but
fix
if we
their
fix
houses,
the house, they wouldn't give them the money.
And if you have other organizations, I've heard from the construction team, they go into the house, they take a picture of the house destroyed, they wait for another organization to fix the house, then they go take a picture and take it to a donor and say, we fixed the house. So you have a lot of organizations who just took money. In the flea market that happened.
As civil society, how are we able to control that? First of all,
we need to develop trust between each other and understand each other.
Do you think we will be able in this year to create a think tank between us to really sit on a daily basis and discuss like really long term?
It's a bit we work on because with the absence of the government and them not be able to facilitate the work of the organization between each other, we did that. We took the initiative to actually contact each other. We have data, you have data. Let's collaborate. Let's cross-reference.
We share our data.
Who we
do
helped,
projects
who we didn't
together.
help. We don't replicate the same help to the same people. We send them off. We do referrals. If we are unable to cover someone's needs, we send them off to other organizations and say, please, if you have resources. So that's how we collaborated, and that's how we were able to be sustainable on many months onwards. But the thing is, we're being drained. We don't have a lot of resources anymore. And we try to be more.
That's the importance of production and connecting people to buy from each other in the country.
And that's why we're creating more sustainable
system.
Yeah.
When I walk into my bank and try to get money that was sent to us aside, $10,000 just evaporated.
That's very complicated. Yeah, that's another very complicated topic that's very linked to the government and how they gave debt to the country, to the government, how we lost everything.
Listen, with all due respect I'm not a numbers person. You have to understand I failed every math course. I know nothing about economy, but with all due respect to the business side of this, to me personally, and I don't know who's going to agree or disagree with me, it's not even about numbers or produce or governance. It's about
humanity
and working with a conscience.
Humanity
and working with a conscience. When I have to, I feel like I live in two parallel universes right now. By day, I look like this. By night, I am in dresses, I am in designer wear because of what my other job is. And it's sickening.
Yeah, well, we can merge both.
It is sickening to me too. I'm a graphic designer who works in an advertising agency. I work with capitalism, and at the same time, I do the things that I'm doing. It changed me.
We can do both
together.
No,
we are doing both together.
We're
You
doing
need
both
consciousness
together.
and awareness. When I go up to an event that I'm running, where the price per person could feed a family for 2 to 3 months, and I have to do this with a smile on my face and go, well, why don't you give me a little bit of money for my NGO and stop stashing it somewhere in your safe? And I'm not going to name names, but anyway, there needs to be, look, the government started with the mistrust and how they dealt with everything and how they ruined the country. So then nobody trusts anybody at this point in the country, I don't believe. If we, the people who kind of popped up after August 4th, learned how to trust and work with each other, we all know each other, we all know how to work each other.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, but that does not necessarily mean that everyone else is trusting you. You have to understand the mentality is our money was stolen, our land was stolen, our life was stolen, our livelihood was stolen. Why do we need to trust
but
anyone?
the problem here is not in business and in money. The problem is with what they did with the business and money. And our job is to maybe create better businesses with a cause. And that's why that's the importance of humanity and impact within the businesses that we're launching.
Yes,
We're
I
going
would
to
try
make the difference, but also we can do it on a bigger level, on a higher level, if we have better investments from abroad, and this would happen
And
when
more
there's
conscious
trust
people,
in the
people who know
government.
how to run it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's, I mean, money
What
isn't
we're
a
doing-
problem. We're getting, honestly, we're
not
getting
profiting,
money.
but we're not profiting
not
any.
profiting, but
Nobody.
we're working, we're
we're
living.
working, we're living, but we're not profiting from it. So
Yeah.
we're just being sustainable. Like when we do sustainable projects, revenues coming to our initiative, we are using them to buy the food, to buy the ingredients, to update our social
What
kitchen.
about the infrastructures? What about the infrastructures
Yeah.
because you're thinking about the humanity, and one of the problems of the humanity, like I've been living for Beirut for the last 1 month or and a half. Our problem is pollution here in Beirut that everyone is focusing on. Our problem here, there is no infrastructure for any public transportation, and you go every time to the poor, there's no reconstruction happening. And it's time for what we're asking about the question, the role of the governments and the syndicate, who can apply big projects?
Yeah,
Is the
exactly.
civil
That was my
society
point.
willing right now to step up and bring big projects to Beirut and reimagine Beirut, because we really have bigger problems today than just shelter.
I
and
We can
think
food.
collaborate.
we can.
International
We covered the
organization
first most
working
important
with the
thing.
civil
People willing
society
to trust us
organizations.
to invest.
So what does the civil society need today to bring trust to say that the word, you know what,
We need
Lebanon,
someone to hand the money directly to us,
okay.
Yes.
not through any channels, directly through us with all the proper material that they need in order to understand that this is legitimate, with the plans, with everything, just like any proposal you would ever write, with auditing, with monitoring, just like we do with our houses. They're checked, audited all throughout the progress and audited at
We're
the end.
being
and
more structured
every
than the
penny-
government.
We are. And every
With
penny is
our-
accounted for. So come, throw me millions of dollars. Here's my staff. Here's our teams. Each person bring in their teams.
Why
Let us
would they
go to
throw
work.
millions of dollars? Why would anyone throw millions
But
of
that's
dollars?
exactly my
Because
point.
they
No
prove their
one
point.
trusts us. That's what I said. When they trust us, if they trusted us, please, all these interviews we've seen with politicians, and every single time every interviewer has basically put them in their spot and in a corner, no one's going to trust us.
Yeah.
Flying in private jets when your country is completely demolished in a revolution, excuse you?
Not paying for the debt that we have on Lebanon, Eurobonds.
Having
and
a
others.
bodyguard to carry your wife's shopping, who's probably making 500,000 a month.
Or a
Let's be
politician who's
realistic.
at home being depressed that he cannot get out
He
to
can't go have
to dinner at all. and
بده يروح
he-
على مطعم.
بده يروح على مطعم أكيد. So
Sorry.
yeah.
No, on the contrary.
Had to get that out.
So guys, do you
I've been
believe,
trying to get it out.
do you
for
believe you
months.
guys should, in the next year, is it effective for you to be in the government and carry on the responsibility, the experience, and the job that you've been doing? Or is it for you better to start transferring power from the old system we had, which is depending on public institution, but to a new system, which is civil society like you, that will continue to pop out to continue this long term?
Of course, a new system.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
government is rotten.
I
The
agree.
system is rotten
Yeah.
deep inside. It's a big cancer tumor
Yeah.
that it needs not to be rid, it needs to be killed.
So you
with
think
everything.
at what time a civil society group will be more functional than a minister?
As soon as they
Ministry.
die.
Yeah.
No, forget about
not
them.
just about
it's about
dying
the
because
ministry
they're-
and about the organization. Would we see private institution and the
They're
civic
20 years
sector
past
more
retirement age,
important
come
than?
on
Of
now.
course.
Yeah, but they're gonna give it to other people that are maybe
Their
executives
sons,
that-
their
This is
daughters,
why
their
we
cousins.
need
This
to
is
make
why
sure
we
they
need
don't
election.
go to the wrong people.
Yes, exactly.
It's
That's
people
the
we need to instate.
When
That's
the,
the importance of elections, for example, of taking over in the government, so having the power and the
we have any
credibility as a new government.
but when you get the government getting the usual funds that they're getting per year, and then you cut them off, they will die slowly. They might do things right to try to make it up for it, but the money is already going to a new system, to a
Yeah.
civil society organization, and with that we will be able to do the unspeakable. We'll be able to do the things that none of them did They're
But you're gonna
lining
be
their
through the
pockets for
government,
years.
in the parliament, in
In
the government.
collaboration.
We will.
We will
We've
cooperate.
infiltrated the
When we
syndicates. We've
trust them.
infiltrated. Yeah.
Yeah, when they change, because it's gonna be a new parliament, because people will vote ideally for new faces that help them on the ground.
And
So I
that's
think
why we're
that's
heading all the
step.
syndicate elections.
Yeah,
But that's
and then when we show improvements on a government level, people outside will trust us and give us money. أصلاً صادر. Why didn't it happen? Why didn't we get money? What was the condition? Is to show certain less corruption and not to end the corruption. Just show us
Because
less
Gigi
corruption.
can run the country without a budget.
No one can
Okay.
run anything.
What's your statement? Do you believe, in the end, we have to kind of give your opinion. Do you believe the syndicates and the government should take over your jobs in the next year? Or do you believe you should continue doing your jobs and
they should have been taking their jobs years ago rather than taking us the job that we're doing now. So when they're trying to shut us down, that's when you know that you're doing something right. That's why you know that you're
That's, you
doing
know,
their
when they're
job.
scared.
When they're scared. So
I think what we agreed on while speaking is that when the government changes and there comes the right people in the government,
will it
we
happen?
will
Honestly,
collaborate.
will it happen?
Mm.
You know, is
No.
it
I see hope. I see a bit of hope.
Listen, we're down here today.
we're
know
the people
how
on the ground.
ugly this might get today. We
Yeah.
know how messy this might get today. We know there's going to be injuries. We're hoping for the best. We know it might be the worst.
Yeah.
But if we don't make this move today, and if we stay quiet, and honestly, on a side note, for every single person that's sitting at home today going, what are you still going down there? Defending your country, defending your dignity, defending your right to live as a human being. Because right now, dogs in the politicians' houses are living better than we are.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time. It's going to be violent. I haven't given up hope yet. You haven't given up hope yet.
We're here.
We're still here. We're willing to go on full force. What we need is the international community to understand. Don't put sanctions on Lebanon as Lebanon. Don't attack Lebanon or the Lebanese people
Sanctions on
as a whole.
politicians.
Put it on the politicians. Come, pick them up, throw them out, put them in a gas chamber somewhere. I don't know what you want to do with them. Have fun. But give us the chance to actually do this. Come fund us. Don't go through the banks. Don't even go online. Come, fly in here, hard cold cash. If you have enough money to donate $100,000, you have enough money to buy a ticket to bring it over here. And let us rebuild the country. And the Lebanese, I'm going to get a lot of backlash for this, I know this. But we need to stand more together. You can't keep, the Lebanese as a community can't keep depending on you, on me, on all the other initiatives and NGOs and the revolutionaries that are on the street. We're carrying a lot of weight. I play 3 different roles in this country. You play I don't know how many different roles. We need the Lebanese to stand together. A lot of people have given up hope. A lot of people have, are in despair, have just, khalas, they're done with it. No, we're still here. We're still fighting. We're trying to be the hope for you. Not because we're getting anything out of it. Not because I want anything out of it. I'm prepared to starve. I'm prepared not to eat. I'm prepared to get beat up. But I want to live in a country with dignity. I want to live in a country with respect. I want to live in a country where I haven't slept in the past 48 hours and I have to be on the streets all day today because there's no electricity. And now there's no mezot either. And I have a motel. It's about dignity. It's about Lebanese human rights. It's about if you can make money off this country and buy a mansion or buy a house, and you can come down to the streets and fight for your rights, because this applies to every religion, every social class, every single human being that lives in this country.
Yeah, it's about change, whether through the peaceful ways and awareness or through the streets.
We're doing the
what
work
do you
in the
think,
streets.
guys?
We're doing the work. We're people on the ground doing the work
Yeah,
in the streets.
no,
Now
I
we're
don't-
gonna
no, I don't-
protest.
I don't
The
mean-
next
I don't
day
mean-
we're
I
gonna
mean,
do
like,
the same thing.
Fight in the street, as what she said. So it's not just peaceful, it's not just awareness, it's plus.
Oh, we
اشتباك.
tried to be peaceful. We did. They
Yeah.
didn't deserve not 1 second of it.
It's impossible to be peaceful and change
We
anything.
were
Because we
full-
need everything. We're fighting on the front lines on every front. So on awareness, so that people elect the right people, in fighting them and shouting against them, and in being all together. So I think these are the main 3 pillars to have change, the change we want in Lebanon.
That's one thing, guys. What will you do different this year?
What do you mean? Today?
From today and until next August, what will be something different you guys would do that you haven't done this year?
We're doing a lot of things. Like there's
Yeah.
no.
I
One
think the
thing
only
different
difference
that's
is today the wall of fear is completely demolished.
Yeah.
It's literally the attitude of bring it on.
fighting
What do you
more
got
to
for
change
us?
mentalities in our area. That's how we're gonna do the community building that we dream of doing.
Yeah.
So,
So are we stepping up? Are we having up our presence on the ground?
Of course, every day we're growing.
Yeah,
مثلا, for example, as Nation Station, we grew organically, unexpectedly. We didn't plan for this. We were just giving food for 2 weeks, and then things escalated, and it fell upon us to continue. And we grew organically, and we handled it. We brought people, volunteers, and we've been taking it further, and we've been growing unexpectedly. And one article in a newspaper got us huge donations, and people throwing their money on the GoFundMe page. So we are gaining the trust because through the media we were able to showcase the work that we are doing, the concrete one, pictures, data, numbers. If you want to talk about numbers, 40,000 hot meals, more than 2,000 food kits, more than 300 people being medically helped every month until the medication were running out. So we've been growing a lot, and we're doing things.
So your votes, guys, in the end, like for your votes, would you like the government to take over, or you want to continue?
We want to continue.
Not this one. Not in a million
not
years.
this government. Yeah, definitely not this government.
Get me a government that knows what he's doing.
We have an opportunity today.
Get me a government where a guy actually knows what a chiropractor
Today
is.
we don't have a government, so who are we addressing?
Give me a politician who actually should have consulted with people in the government rather than going on Google and have to see if nitrat ammonium should be. We just Google it. It's just a fertilizer. We didn't expect it to be more.
It was a science experiment.
It's a science experiment. And Google, يعني إنه.
And not that.
And they're paying people to be consultants in governments, millions of Lebanese lira or dollars until they have to go into their laptops and click what is nitrat ammonium.
Even 10 days after the explosion, we never knew what was next to the ammonium nitrate.
10 days, Hayati, 1 year.
1 year?
Yeah, no,
1 year.
No, I mean the materials that were next to the ammonium nitrate, after 10 days, no one knew. We could have had another explosion, and ما حدا عمل هذا. ما قدروا ياخدوا حتى samples from the port because the army was there. They prevented.
Can I ask you a question? That speaking of the government, I was in the States at 9/11, and I remember going down to the World Trade Center, and there was a certain radius where you couldn't even get beyond it. So it's kind of like you needed binoculars to see what's going on. These videos that everyone now suddenly became a singer, an Arab idol, and an artist, and these videos that are being recorded down there right now in the memorial for 1 year. Hey, government, what evidence are they going to pick up? It's all been tampered with. Evidence was supposed to happen right that second. Evidence was supposed to happen within hours. Where were we in those hours?
10 hours after the explosion, they shut down everything. They will continue the search for the people the next day.
Oh my God.
1 month after the explosion, when there's dead bodies under rubble, we don't have a crane. Need we remind each other of these wonderful situations?
No, they're just having their falafel sandwich or
ملك
on the streets.
I guess there's more important things to talk about these small things. You guys have been doing great job for the last year. Honestly, we've personally seeing a lot of survivors in Beirut. Honestly, thanking you for every small and big job you've done. A lot of people were able to go back to their homes because of your job. A lot of people were able not to focus about how they will eat today because of your job. And a lot of people are creating awareness about who is responsible about everything. Thank you, Misa. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Douaa, for this
panel.
Thank
you guys for having us.
We're trying just to push as much as we can our voices to international community, get to know you guys and intervene with you. And looking forward to see next year how this conversation would have leveled up and evolved. And looking forward to see you in a few hours on the street. So,
yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Are we done? Can I get out of the sun and a debate? No one noticed the sun was on me.
Oh my God. Anytime.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Douaa.